Chaos on the Russian front. How North Korean troops sparked disaster in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin took a monumental risk by deploying over 10,000 North Korean troops to the KSK region. Combining two armies so vastly different in language, training, and culture was a recipe for chaos. The disadvantages were glaringly obvious. North Korean soldiers lacked combat experience, spoke no Russian, and were fighting for a cause that wasn't their own. Yet, Putin ignored these red flags and pushed forward with his questionable decision. Freed from the oppressive grip of Kim Jong-un's regime, these North Korean troops found themselves on the front lines in KSK, Bryansk, and northeastern Ukraine, tasked with halting Ukrainian advances. But this gamble quickly spiraled into disaster. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported that North Korean soldiers actively participated in offensives in KSK since their arrival in November. By then, it was claimed that at least 500 of them had been eliminated in combat. However, the real fiasco came when North Korean soldiers mistakenly opened fire on their supposed allies, elite Russian Chechen troops. Yes, you read that right. Kim Jong-un's forces turned their weapons on Putin's own men. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, a group of North Korean soldiers in KSK Oblast engaged in a friendly fire incident, eliminating 8 Russian soldiers from the Chechen Akhmat battalion. Language barriers turn allies into enemies. The reason behind this tragicomic blunder? A language barrier. Without a common tongue or effective communication, the North Korean troops misidentified the Akhmat battalion as enemy forces and launched an indiscriminate attack. While no Chechen casualties were reported, the loss of Russian soldiers further embarrassed Putin's struggling military. This wasn't an isolated incident. Since the start of the war, Russian forces have experienced multiple cases of friendly fire, even among their own ranks. Now, adding foreign troops with no shared language into the mix has amplified the chaos. Yet Putin, increasingly isolated on the world stage, has little choice but to rely on allies like North Korea to make up for his army's staggering losses, which reportedly near 700,000 troops. Why Kim Jong-un keeps backing Putin? For Kim Jong-un, sending troops to support Russia isn't about altruism, it's a calculated move. In exchange, North Korea is seeking advanced military technology, including air defense systems and nuclear-related tools, to bolster its own arsenal. With these resources, Kim aims to escalate tensions with South Korea, shifting the regional balance of power in his favor. Kim's ambitions have already alarmed observers. North Korea has dramatically increased its missile testing, with over 224 tests in the last decade compared to just 16 between 1997 and 2011. Recent advancements include the development of solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missiles and the successful launch of a military spy satellite. These provocations, combined with Kim's rhetoric labeling South Korea as a permanent enemy, point to a growing willingness to provoke a confrontation. A dangerous partnership. As Putin grows more desperate, his reliance on North Korea deepens. Last month, the United States revealed that North Korea had sent approximately 10,000 containers of ammunition and related supplies to Russia. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Intelligence Directorate reported record losses among Russian and North Korean forces, with nearly 200 soldiers killed in a single day. This dangerous alliance between Putin and Kim Jong-un threatens to destabilize not only Ukraine but also the broader geopolitical landscape. While both leaders face mounting challenges, their partnership is built on mutual desperation, a volatile foundation that could lead to further chaos on multiple fronts. North Korea's rewards and the fragile Eastern Alliance. North Korea is believed to have received significant rewards for its support of Russia, including cash, food, and oil. However, the most concerning speculation lies in the possibility that it could be gaining military aid, ranging from spare parts to advanced missile technology. This exchange underscores Kim Jong-un's ambitions to position North Korea as a critical player in an emerging anti-Western, anti-imperialist bloc, a coalition that now includes Russia and China. Yet, beneath the surface of this alliance, all is not as seamless as Kim might wish. While this Eastern bloc presents a united front against the West, cracks in the foundation are evident. Historical and strategic differences between Russia, China, and North Korea occasionally lead to tensions. A history of uneasy cooperation. It's worth remembering that Russia and China were once proponents of international sanctions against North Korea, targeting its pursuit of nuclear weapons. Both countries voted for UN sanctions in the past, recognizing the destabilizing potential of Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions. But times have changed. Now, Russia and China are actively helping North Korea sidestep these sanctions, revealing a dramatic shift in priorities. China, for instance, continues to import North Korean coal despite international prohibitions, while also supplying old fishing boats to facilitate smuggling operations. On the surface, these actions demonstrate Beijing's support for its neighbor. However, China's position is far from enthusiastic. Even as it turns a blind eye to Pyongyang's missile tests, Beijing expresses quiet unease about North Korea's growing nuclear capabilities. The balancing act between unity and discontent. Beijing's discomfort is not without cause. Kim's nuclear arsenal represents a dual-edged sword. It fortifies the bloc's position against the West but simultaneously threatens regional stability, a prospect that worries China. For now, Xi Jinping's government seems content to publicly downplay these concerns. But behind closed doors, analysts suspect Beijing's patience is wearing thin. China's discomfort has only deepened as Pyongyang and Moscow strengthen their military and political ties. The growing rapport between Kim and Putin puts Beijing in a precarious position, as it fears being drawn into a scenario that could jeopardize its broader geopolitical goals, particularly concerning Taiwan. What could break the bloc? Despite their shared interests, one significant deterrent could unravel this fragile alliance: a potential return of Donald Trump to the White House. During Trump's presidency, he shocked the world by becoming the first U.S. president to meet a North Korean leader, leading to a temporary pause in Pyongyang's provocative actions. Although those negotiations ultimately failed, Trump's unconventional approach left a mark. Should Trump return to power, Kim might hope to reignite these talks, potentially leveraging them to extract concessions from the U.S. This possibility is viewed with a mix of skepticism and concern by the current Eastern Bloc, as it could disrupt the delicate dynamics between North Korea, Russia, and China. North Korea's military, a paper tiger? While Kim boasts of North Korea's military strength, the reality tells a different story. Despite an army exceeding 1 million soldiers, many of these troops are relegated to labor roles rather than combat duties. Recent reports even suggest that some have been dispatched to work in impoverished areas within North Korea, a clear sign of the regime's economic struggles. In stark contrast, South Korea and its ally, the United States, maintain overwhelming military superiority. South Korea's advanced air, naval, and missile defense systems, combined with America's nuclear capabilities, dwarf the North's arsenal. In a significant display of force, the U.S. deployed a nuclear-armed submarine to Seoul last year for the first time in decades, underscoring its commitment to defending the region. China's reluctance and Russia's dependence. Beijing's unease over the deepening Pyongyang-Moscow partnership has become increasingly apparent. U.S. officials have highlighted China's discomfort, noting its hesitance to openly criticize Russia's actions while simultaneously expressing disapproval of North Korea's growing military coordination with Moscow. Despite this, China continues to supply Russia with critical resources, including semiconductors and machinery, essential for rebuilding its war machine. This duality, supporting Russia while quietly opposing its deeper ties with Pyongyang, reflects Beijing's complex strategy of balancing its alliances without fully committing to any single partner. A strategic chessboard with global implications. As the Eastern Bloc maneuvers to counter Western influence, questions remain about its cohesion. Analysts warn that if Russia provides nuclear assistance to North Korea, it could backfire by strengthening American alliances in East Asia, potentially paving the way for a NATO-like coalition in the region. Such a scenario would place Xi Jinping in a precarious position, forcing China to navigate between preserving its alliances and avoiding direct confrontation with the West. The role of Taiwan and Japan. The implications extend far beyond Korea and Ukraine. For China, the outcome of this alliance directly impacts its ambitions in Taiwan. A Russian victory in Ukraine, aided by North Korea, could serve as a propaganda tool for Beijing, reinforcing its narrative of reclaiming Taiwan by force if necessary. Japan, too, watches the developments with growing concern. While recent diplomatic gestures, such as China's promise to remove a controversial buoy from Japan's exclusive economic zone, signal potential thawing in Sino-Japanese relations, Tokyo remains on high alert. The China-Russia-North Korea alliance is seen as a looming threat, one that could drag Japan into a broader conflict despite its preference for peace. The cost of partnership: soldiers as cannon fodder. Ultimately, the partnership between Putin and Kim Jong-un is one of convenience, not camaraderie. Both leaders are willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of troops to achieve their respective goals. For Putin, this means replenishing his depleted forces in Ukraine, For Kim, it's about securing the resources and technology needed to maintain his regime. Yet, the friendly fire incidents in Ukraine, combined with mounting casualties, highlight the fragility of this alliance. If such mistakes continue, the partnership could unravel, leaving both leaders isolated on the global stage. The question remains, how long can this precarious alliance hold before it collapses under the weight of its contradictions?